In this update, I'd like to talk with you about something very close to my heart, Bethel. When I learned the truth as a teenager, I made Bethel service a goal. After I was baptized, I pioneered for 2 years, and then I came to Bethel, and I've been here for 36 years now. So I'm happy to talk to you about how things are going at Bethel, and how the worldwide Bethel family is coping with the pandemic. No doubt you'll be encouraged to hear what helps them to remain joyful in their service.
Yes, Brother Cook welcomes us, and he's happy to talk to us about Bethel service during a pandemic. Notice the condescending way that he's talking to us as if we're children.
During this pandemic, we have continued to receive spiritual food. This includes our weekly meetings, news articles on jw.org, new publications, monthly broadcasts, convention programs, and more.
Of course, they want to continue with spewing out JW broadcastings, the weekly meetings, and anything they can to keep the brothers busy, so busy they haven't got time to Google their religion. We must keep them indoctrinated on a daily and weekly basis. Isn't it interesting how he mentioned news items?
News articles on jw.org.
These news items on jw.org won't contain all Jehovah's Witness news going on around the world. For example, it would be too embarrassing for the Jehovah's Witnesses to put a news item saying how they were threatened with losing their charitable status in Australia if they don't enter the Royal Redress Scheme, in which elders would have to apologise to the victims and Watchtower would have to finance the fact that they have an appalling inadequate way of looking after or safeguarding children. For example, you're not going to hear on jw.org the $35 million lawsuit which revealed in Montana, which revealed that Jehovah's Witnesses play a shell game with their money. Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses at the time had 49 million, but the Watchtower Society had 1.5 billion. So who is it you're suing? Oh, you're suing Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses and a percentage of what we have in the bank there. Also, you won't find on jw.org newsroom how they've recently lost a case in Belgium, so that as of the 16th of March 2021, shunning completely is outlawed in Belgium. So the Watchtower Society are now most likely going to appeal the case, and if it ends up in the European Court of Human Rights, this could result in the entire continent of Europe making it illegal to shun. So, these Jehovah's Witnesses who are dictated to by the Watchtower Society on their every move, including shunning family members who are former members of their religion, now, when they go to the European Court of Human Rights and appeal the case, if the verdict is, well, you can carry on disfellowshipping, that's fine, but when it comes to shunning, that's completely wrong, and that's not within the human rights that you should have. So won't it be interesting when the Jehovah's Witnesses are faced with that? Are they going to obey the governing body, or are they going to put family first and not shun their family? Of course, Jehovah's Witnesses think that they're obeying God by shunning their family, but there's zero support in the Bible for shunning the way the Jehovah's Witnesses do it. In fact, I have a video with 19 Bible verses which clearly show the Bible actually condemns shunning. It does not tolerate shunning. So even from a biblical point of view, it's wrong to shun. Read Matthew 9 and then read Matthew chapter 18 and see how Jesus felt about associating with unbelievers. You won't find any of those things on JW Newsroom. No, the only negative stuff you'll find on JW Newsroom is persecution, such as what's going on in Russia. They don't want embarrassing stuff on there that makes them look bad.
All of this is possible because of the willing spirit and hard work of our Bethel family under challenging circumstances. Around the world, the Bethel family has been sheltering in place, in most cases for about 1 year. Our Bethelites have sacrificed opportunities to spend time in person with family and dear friends, and they've done this with a cooperative and willing spirit. Why? because they love Jehovah and Jesus, and because they love you. They want to serve the needs of our worldwide brotherhood. That's been a sacrifice for them, but we know that's also been a sacrifice for all of you who have family and friends at Bethel, because you haven't been able to see them in person during these difficult times. In a sense, you've made a contribution to the work by helping members of your family who are at Bethel to be able to stay and concentrate on their work. What a beautiful gift your support has been. Of course, when this all began...
Yes, of course, your support has been beautiful in allowing your Bethelite family members to continue with their work of keeping people indoctrinated in a cult that breaks up families, doesn't allow certain medical treatment, is woefully inadequate according to multiple court cases at child safeguarding, and spews out homophobic material which has resulted in some cases in people taking their own lives. Yes, what a beautiful gift. I do, however, worry about Bethelites, and I do worry about loneliness, and I worry about isolation, especially people who are working remotely for Bethel, people maybe who aren't in a Bethel compound, but people who are working remotely, maybe in busy cities. I worry about their mental health and well-being. I worry about a lot of people's mental health and well-being during a pandemic. It must be incredibly hard, especially if you live in a very large, busy city. You literally cannot go outside during lockdown. It must be very hard. And what makes it even worse is if you're trapped in a cult.
Of course, when this all began, few imagined it would stretch on for so long. In the following video, you'll see what some of our hard-working Bethelites have been doing to maintain their joy and keep the kingdom work going without interruption.
3 things that I miss: traveling, playing sports, and tackle stands.
I really miss my family.
Because we live in an apartment right in the city center, we can't go out. When you're lonely and trapped inside 4 walls, it's very easy to get lost in negative thoughts.
So this goes back to what I was saying earlier about how if you are a remote worker, and she looks like she's working remotely, probably in a busy city. She's got her computer behind her. She probably does office work, maybe translation for her particular branch, watchtower branch in her particular country, and she is incredibly lonely. She's not even in the compound of Bethel, and that's bad enough to be institutionalized like that, I would imagine. But she literally can't go outside of her apartment, so she's stuck in there. She's stuck in this world of watchtower. She has to make the best of it, and it's easy, as she says. What is it she says? She gets negative thoughts. Very, very sad.
We keep all of you, dear brothers and sisters, in our prayers. As you saw from the video, like you, our Bethelites deal with anxieties during the pandemic. It's normal to have these feelings. We know that the trials that we're experiencing are going to end, but in the meantime, we're dealing with very real human emotions.
Isn't it interesting? He says, we know that the trials we experience are going to end. What exactly is it he means by that?
The trials that we're experiencing are going to end.
Well, just a few minutes further on in the video, interestingly, he clarified what, in his mind, it was that he was referring to. The pandemic had a beginning, and the pandemic will have an end. No Sherlock.
This pandemic had a beginning, and this pandemic will have an end.
It's interesting, isn't it? Does he believe that the pandemic will end before the Great Tribulation starts? You see, they clearly don't think that Armageddon is imminently round the corner, or why would they be going ahead with a massive building project at World Headquarters? Yes, Ramapo. They want to build their own miniature Hollywood. Now, I don't want to show you the entire next set of clips about Ramapo, because some of it is incredibly boring and tedious and dull. But I just want to show you very quickly a few interesting bits that I think you're going to find fascinating.
One example of that is the World Headquarters Project at Ramapo, New York, announced at the 2019 annual meeting. Have you been wondering how the Ramapo project has been affected by the pandemic?
No. I literally haven't given it a second thought. I'm guessing some super spiritual Jehovah's Witness may well be sitting there wondering, oh, I wonder how the pandemic has affected the Ramapo project. Seriously? Do you really think, Watchtower, we give two hoots what's going on at Ramapo?
We're happy to share this behind-the-scenes report on how things have been progressing.
On the January 2020 monthly broadcast, our brothers around the world learned that the governing body had determined it was Jehovah's direction, and approval has been given for a site dedicated primarily to media production in Ramapo.
Yes, the governing body had determined that it was divinely approved that their project would be constructed in Ramapo, and even created a timescale in which the project should be done, because of course they had divine approval that they had determined. And then we had the pandemic. And which scripture was it in the Bible where it says that God laughs at the plans of humans, especially when human beings think that their plans are God's?
Well, just 3 months later, a once-in-a-generation event, COVID-19, brought grinding to a halt the plans that large institutions, even nations, had in mind.
Now, just to clarify that, brother, was that once in an overlapping generations event, or was that once in a generations event? Could you just repeat that for us?
A once-in-a-generation event.
Ah, okay, a once in a generations event. Okay, yeah. So, presumably, if this then becomes old light, at some point new light will need to come out where it was once in an overlapping generations event. But I'm glad you clarified that for us, brother. So the current light is once in a generations event, but this could become old light when the new light takes over, that it's once in an overlapping generation. Yeah, okay, thanks for clarifying.
Were the plans for Ramapo affected? Was it really the right time for Jehovah's organization to start a major construction project? As we review the events of 2020, look out not only for clear evidence of Jehovah's direction and blessing, but also the conclusion that Job once came to when he said to Jehovah, "Nothing you have in mind is impossible for you to do."
For a period here in New York, non-essential construction activities were restricted. However, at the exact time our project schedule required it, the town of Ramapo started holding town board meetings over, you guessed it, Zoom. That meant that even though we were in the midst of the unfolding global chaos, we were still able to meet a milestone on July 8th, 2020, when we had our first project meeting with the town board. And we have clearly seen Jehovah's blessing in the meetings we have had with them since then.
We hit a second and much more significant milestone on December 9, 2020, when the town approved our scoping document. Like the homework a teacher assigns a student in order to pass an important grade, we now know the information we should provide the town in order to obtain permission to start construction.
Do you see what's going on here? It's being strongly suggested that we are the only organisation that could possibly have accomplished this because, you guessed it, we have God's backing. And so this dude is on here talking in a very condescending way, like we're school children, using an illustration of, oh, well, we had our homework from the planning, the town planning. You see, is it a product of Jehovah's blessing, or is it a product of higher learning, people going to university, studying IT and being able to create an app like Zoom so that people can have easy access to video conferencing software and networks from the comfort of their own home or office or cult compound? Is it the fact that higher education has given them the ability to continue with the pre-planning phase of constructing a major building project? Or is it God? That's the question you have to ask. I'd submit to you that higher learning, which is strongly discouraged by Watchtower, is now benefiting Watchtower because they can now use the higher learning's results, i.e. software such as, or computer websites and services such as Zoom. Yes, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, in their arrogance, think that they are able to do amazing things that nobody else can do because they have God. They're going to get their comeuppance when they find that it becomes illegal in the whole of Europe because of a judge's decision in the future to shun somebody. I genuinely think that will happen in Europe if they take it to the Supreme High Court. And in their arrogance and in their ability to believe that everything that they do is blessed by God, they probably will do it because they're so big-headed. And it will result in a judge being able to see through, yeah, nothing wrong with disfellowshipping, but shunning, that's a separation of the two. Disfellowshipping is okay, but the policy of shunning your disfellowship, that's not on. They will lose their ability to be able to shun legally in an entire continent on earth because of their arrogance and this exact same message they're sending across here on this governing body update program, that apparently only they can achieve amazing things. Now let's hear what Harry Potter has to say here, shall we?
Entrance off Sterling Mine Road brings you first to the Visitor Center, which will accommodate 1,200 visitors per day. The studio building, with its sound stages, is in the center of the site. And adjacent to the studios are workshops. Over the ridgeline is the back lot for outdoor sets and filming. Next to the studios are the offices, reception, and the events building. This building can be configured as either a large assembly space for 1,300 attendees, a large dining room for 1,200 people, or some yet-to-be-defined function. On the west of the site are residences for 1,290 volunteers.
And reconfigurations. Demountable partitions extend from the floor to the deck above. They can transform one module into a single office or small conference room. Partitions can group several modules together to form a larger conference room, or the floor can be free of partitions to work as an open plan work area. More importantly, as these demountable partitions have no services in them, these changes can be made at any time before or after moving into the facility as office needs are better understood. Maximizing the glass on the facades and then the use of glass partitions inside the offices ensures that all offices have plenty of natural light.
The 10 residence buildings are oriented in a north-south direction, so that all rooms will have either morning or afternoon sun. They are clustered around existing wetlands. Careful research led to the decision to pursue a different structural system known as mass timber, something we've not done on previous projects of this scale. Timber is bonded in crossed directional layers to form the structural elements of the building. This is an increasingly familiar system, robust and safe, that means that the beams, the columns, and floors can be prefabricated off-site, making the structure of the building faster to put up. And apart from being economical, time-saving, and reducing the carbon footprint of the project, it should also make for some very attractive buildings. As many filming and recording projects will be produced at the new Ramapo facility, 50 rooms in the residence building closest to the center of the site have been designed to be smaller, hotel-like rooms that will allow for comfortable short-term stays for those here to assist as cast members or other visitors.
Isn't that interesting? Hotel-like rooms. There you have it, folks. Yes, they're building a idyllic hotel. You know that the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society are known in the XJW community and for those waking up for major players in the property market. They are kingpins of property flippers, masters at it actually. But currently their business model appears to be selling more properties than they're constructing. This major property, should it ever be flipped in the future, like they flipped all the properties in Brooklyn, could potentially earn them hundreds of millions of dollars at some future time. This facility to me looks like it could very well be a sports stadium and hotel for some company in the future willing to pay Watchtower mega bucks for it. You can see here, ladies and gentlemen, and they just confess to it almost, they're building a hotel. Yes, I have absolutely no doubt that as soon as it's constructed, it will be used to create indoctrination videos. But as the shrinkage of their membership continues worldwide on a global scale, and as their finances continues to dwindle with all the lawsuits that they're going to be facing in the future and the current lawsuits that they are facing at the moment, the sale of property will be very much needed to bail out Watchtower in a financial way. Well, here you have it, folks. They have a brand new hotel and they're getting free labour to build it. And on that bombshell, it's time to end. Thank you and good night.